I'm going to give you my entire outreach strategy that I used for myself to scale past 10K a month as an editor, but also the same one that we give to all our editors inside our training program. We call it the outreach matrix. This is how do you actually build a functioning client system part by part. So let's jump into it. If you don't know me, I go by Malice online, my real name Sayeef. I've worked with guys between 1 and 70 million subscribers. There's a few others outside of my portfolio that I'm under NDA with, but nonetheless, let's jump into it. Every functioning client system has 3 core parts. You've got leads, which is someone that you can contact. Interested leads, which is someone who has expressed interest in working with you. And clients, who are people that have actually paid. A lot of people get confused between clients and leads, where they're in a conversation with someone, they haven't actually been paid, but they call them clients. Clients are only yours once you've actually been paid. Now, a functioning client system has a way of turning strangers into leads, turning leads into interested leads, and turning interested leads into clients. So I'm going to walk you through actual tactics of what I teach for each one of these stages. And these are the ones that I've already proven. Are there more? Yes. These are the ones that I've actually done. So let's start with lead generation. So how do you turn a stranger into a client? The first one that I have used literally from the start of my career is Twitter. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. There's 2 methods of you doing it. You've got search and algorithm. I'll walk you through both now. For the search feature, this is as simple as going into the search bar of X and searching for terms that people would use when they're actually hiring an editor. For example, looking for editor, searching for editor, need video, hiring content editor. Putting together different strings of these words will find different pockets of people who are actually actively looking for editors. And the best part about this is these are people who are actively hiring, which just from the data that we've seen over all the editors that we coach, when they go for these warmer people, response rates tend to be higher and the close rate tends to be higher. So search, it finds really high intent leads. Algorithm is another method that we personally use when it comes to finding people on Twitter and other social media platforms. As you're going about and searching actively for these job posts, a really cool method that you can use is just engage with the actual posts. You can like, you can comment, you can actually just spend more time. So you teach the X algorithm that, hey, I like this type of content, serve me more of this. And what you find over time is X will literally serve you these job posts as they're being posted. So every time you restart on Twitter, you'll be served with job posts. The second method that we use for lead generation is YouTube. I help video editors get more clients in the YouTube space because traditional media is doing this and YouTube and social media is doing this. So why fight the trend? So to find these YouTube creators, the best place to find them is going to be on YouTube. I found 3 core methods on YouTube to actually get these YouTube clients. First one, search. Very similar to Twitter, but instead of searching for intent-based queries, for example, looking for editor, people don't really post that on YouTube. Instead, it's going to be finding creators within your niche. And the way you do that isn't by searching finance creator or IRL creator or documentary videos. That's not what you search up. Instead, you type as if you are the viewer of that channel. For example, let's say you want to get into the documentary niche. You would find the top 1, 2, 3 documentary channels and their top videos. You actually search the title or the format of the title back onto YouTube and you'll find that channel, but also others who post similar content. So that's using search. Algorithm, very similar to Twitter's algorithm, is as you start taking in and watching these videos in that niche, you actually end up getting served more of those videos. So you can find people who are in the niche you want on your algorithm. And lastly, comments. This is a bit of an advanced one, but essentially what you can do is think about the channels that your perfect client would be watching. For example, there's some great podcasts like Hayden Hillier-Smith's got a podcast, there's some creator podcasts. Ed Lawrence's channel is a channel all about helping YouTubers grow. These are places that YouTubers and creators will actually look at in order to grow. A small portion of them will comment, and in order for you to find these creators, you can just go into the comment and scrape them. I'm not going to go into the tactics now because that's not what this video is about in terms of how do you scrape it in our programs, and this is not me selling it, but just truthfully, we have like automated ways of scraping all the comments, actively finding all the biggest creators. But what this method does of being able to use YouTube comments is you're able to find people who are actively trying to grow their channels, which, surprise, surprise, people who are actively trying to grow their channels are a lot more likely to hire editors. So that's the second method. The third one is Discord servers. Discord is sort of this social media platform. I'm assuming you've used it before. There's Discord servers like Creative Paradise, and there's a few others that we tend to use. But by looking at Discord servers that, surprise, surprise, YouTubers would like to join, if you can get into those, all you do is you just find YouTubers in there, and now they become leads, people you can contact. The trick here is, yes, you should go for the job posts, where a lot of servers have these specific channels for job listings, but the real magic isn't in the job post channel, it's actually in the members list. Because what you can do is you can scrape the members list, there's different tools for it, but you can automatically scrape all the information from each person, find their channels, and then be able to just reach out to the people that are in the space you want and the channel size that you want. Next, we've got Instagram. This works a little bit different to Twitter. It sounds like it would work the same, but Instagram I found is less useful for just pure intent-based searches. Instead, you're going to treat it more like YouTube, where you find content that your avatar, your actual type of perfect client would want to watch, and then you scrape the likes if you can, but more importantly, the comments and the followers, because you'll find large YouTubers on there. Instagram is also great, just more of like a long-term thing, where you follow creators, and sometimes they're going to put on their story, hey, we're hiring an editor, we're hiring multiple editors, and you being able to follow these people is going to mean you're first to actually reach out. Next is Meta Ads Library. A lot of people don't actually know about this, but whenever you have someone who runs ads on Meta, on Facebook, on Instagram, these are people who are trying to sell their service, and they obviously need their ads edited. Now, even if you've never edited ads before, they're usually pretty simple to edit, but by going on Meta Ads Library, and you can go search this up, you can find every single ad that anyone is currently running, but also has ran in the past. So what you can do is search for ads in the niche that you want, and then it literally says their Instagram or Facebook there, and now you have someone that you can reach out to that you know is actively posting and making content. Then you've got LinkedIn. LinkedIn works a lot better for B2B type work, where you've got these creators that more serve businesses rather than just en masse entertainment content. You can find them, but typically it's a lot easier to find like finance type creators, actual businesses that have a business behind the channel and the content that they're making. We've seen people make money in both types, entertainment and education, but LinkedIn is great for finding those education type creators. Can you find clients on LinkedIn if you're an entertainment editor? Absolutely. In fact, one of my friends, I won't mention his name, but he's worked on channels pretty similar in size to me, sort of between that like 20 to 50 million subscriber range. He found 3 huge entertainment channels on LinkedIn. Doesn't seem like they'd be there, but hey. Next one is School. You may or may not have seen the platform of School. In fact, I can just show you what it looks like. We host a program inside here, so it's basically like this all-in-one platform where they have a community, classroom, calendar, and people host like programs, mentorship, things on there. It's also great to just find YouTubers on there. I believe, and this could change by the time you're watching this video, School does have, I think it's a 10 DMs per week limit of like cold DMs. If they're not in a a community that you own. But that 10 per week, you can find really high intent people by joining YouTube groups and then searching in the tab, looking for editor or video editor and terms like these, scraping all of those, and then actually reaching out to the people that are hiring. And I'll talk to you about how to message them in a second. Next, we've got Reddit. Reddit is super useful, and I'm going to walk you through 2 methods of using Reddit. The first one is more search-based, and basically just going onto these places where YouTubers would hang out. The second one is actually finding people who are complaining about their editors. The thing is, oftentimes people will have a bad experience with a service, and oftentimes editors think that, oh, that person is no longer on the market, they wouldn't hire again, they've been burned before, oh, now I have to charge less, things like that. Oftentimes when someone has a bad experience with another editor, I get happy as hell, because all that means is for me and the guys that we help, we're going to find it so much easier to, first of all, build more pain, because we can just mention what happened last time. But second of all, we can actually position ourselves as almost like the antithesis, the opposite of that. So a part of the sales process, and we'll talk about that in a second, but a part of the sales process is going to be asking questions about what happened before. Like, why have you not found someone before? What are you looking for? Have you had an editor before? Where did it go wrong? By us asking these questions, when someone has had a bad experience, we build more pain, meaning we are more likely to close, but also more likely to close at a higher price. So using Reddit to actually find people who have had negative experiences from their editor, it's an amazing way to just like slide in and be able to get that. And the last one, I personally haven't done this, full transparency, but door-to-door I've seen actually work for quite a few editors now. It's only been over the last 6 months, so I don't know how scalable this is, but in terms of lead generation, realize that these are the ones that I've personally used and seen worked. But door-to-door local businesses, literally just going to them and saying like, hey, would you be looking for an editor? We'll talk about the exact messaging in a second, but this is lead generation. How do you get a stranger who you can't contact into a lead, which is someone you can contact? Once you have any of these methods working, by the way, these all work, we need to know how to actually reach out to them. And by the way, it's important that we have all three, because otherwise when even one of them's broken, if you're missing one part, it doesn't matter how well you're doing this. If you haven't gotten one stage done, none of it matters. So you gotta have all of them in place, right? So let's talk about outreach messaging. On any of these platforms, there's 3 outreach messaging tactics that I've seen work again and again and pull good metrics. By the way, in terms of data, it's really important you have your data with your outreach messaging. In fact, there should be in the description, like this free outreach tracker. It's the same one that we use in the actual program. It's just so that we can know whether your outreach is working or not. So you can go get that in the description. But the first method that I have seen work and crush when it comes to outreach is the Omni application. For most people, whenever they see someone put a post out, for example, let's say this is a creator, right? And they've put it on X. You will see 1,000 editors apply for this job role and just absolutely bombard this guy. And what the creators' DMs look like is pretty much 1 million editors just reaching out to them. So what they're going to do is basically just give this guy a watch, spend about 3 seconds on it, here about 1 second, here about 1 second, these each about half a second before they click off, maybe this guy like 4 seconds. You're not going to get a chance. Should you reach out on the platform that they asked you to reach out on? Yes. If someone posts a job post on LinkedIn, you should absolutely reach out on LinkedIn. But what you should also do is find all of the other platforms that this person is on. For example, if you found a job post on X, you could find their YouTube and then find their email through their YouTube. You could find if you found them on X, find their LinkedIn. Damn, find their fucking phone number, dude. Like, you could literally SMS them. What else? Maybe like an Instagram. By finding all of these platforms and reaching out here about the job post that they posted here, what's going to happen is you have so much less competition. For example, let's say you have a big creator. They might get 300 applications just on X, but there might be 3 people that actually emailed about it. And there might be 1 person that reached out on LinkedIn and no one that reached out on phone or Instagram. So by doing an omni-channel application, so you have this omnipresence over everything you can find, they're so much more likely to give you a shot compared to anyone else. Now, granted, your work needs to be good, but this gives you so much of a larger shot of actually getting a reply. The next method of the actual outreach messaging, so in order to get someone from a lead to an interested lead, so for them to reply to you, it's going to be Loom Alchemy. Loom is a video recording software. The free version, it goes up to 5 minutes, which is more than enough than what you need to do. These videos are usually 60 to 90 seconds. Loom Alchemy is essentially where you record a quick video, basically breaking down like the guy's channel. And these are super personalized. There's different approaches you can use depending on your level of experience. For example, if you're a lot newer, where not newer in terms of editing, but newer in terms of just You don't have like a ton of clients where you can flex the numbers and things like that. If you're newer and have less social proof, you play more of like the effort and work style, which means like, hey, I've put a lot of effort into breaking down your channel, and also, hey, look at my work. You wouldn't really mention the client side because you might not have as many. When I say effort, I'm actually going to give you a story of one of the best outreach looms that I've seen ever in my life. There was a guy who was reaching out to edit for me, and he basically recorded a loom, like a video similar to what I'm recording here. And he basically had my channel here, like a screenshot of my channel, right? These are all the videos. And around all of it, he broke down every single part of my business. He broke down all the products. He found like 3 competitors. He looked at my recent 10 videos and saw like, hey, you do this style, this style, this style. I think this is good, this is good, this is bad. For this reason, I think personally I would do this, but let me know what you're thinking of. Like he just had like this huge mind map of just as much information as you could find. And when you actually think about it, this is actually pretty easy to do. It might look like it takes a long time, but by you spending 5 minutes to just click around the links that someone has and find them on different socials and just take a screenshot and lay out on a loom or a Miro board similar to this, you just recording a quick loom like this, you instantly stand out from everyone else that says, hey bro, so you're looking for an editor, want to work together. Like think about how much more of this stands out. Even if they don't want to hire you, that 60 to 90 seconds that you take to record the video and maybe like the 5 minutes that you take to prepare, this will increase your response rate like crazy. Even if they're going to negatively reply, like you might get 5% that negative reply, but the other 95% are going to be positively replying to this. So loom alchemy, that's how I do it. Now, this is really important. When you're sending looms, I see editors make such a huge mistake here. You do not ask to send a loom. You just send the loom. Because whenever people say, hey, I recorded a loom for you and let me know if you want me to send it through. Or, hey, I did a re-edit. Let me know if you want me to send it through. Just give me a thumbs up. Like, everyone knows you haven't recorded it yet. Everyone knows you haven't done the re-edit yet. Just do the re-edit or do the actual loom and send it to them. You're going to see such an increase in that your actual response rate. So that's loom alchemy. And lastly, high value re-edits. This is very similar to loom alchemy. And by the way, I'll let you know which one you should do at your stage in terms of reaching out to these leads. High value re-edits are essentially where you take someone else's video, where let's say this guy's a YouTuber, you find one of his videos and you say, hey, I think I could do this better. You're going to basically rip out that video into an MP4. You can find a converter online yourself. And you're basically going to take that into your software and edit the video yourself. Why do we do this? Because we're going to use that to actually reach out to this person and basically say like, hey, we did a re-edit. What do you think? Now, there's going to be 3 outcomes that could come from this. The first one is basically the guy saying F off, which from my experience, I've coached one-on-one over 300 editors. We've used this method for them. I have one time seen someone get even a slight negative reply. It wasn't even an F off. It was just like a, hey, not looking for anyone at the moment. Could you actually take it down? We just took it down. And this is after like 300 people who have done it, which is about 1,000 or so re-edits. I've seen one negative reply. Everyone else either says like, hey, like I actually really like this. Like, how much do you charge? Or they say, what's it called? Like, I'm not looking for someone right now, but I'll reach out when I am. That's the majority of cases that you're going to find. The third thing that can happen when someone doesn't reply to your outreach through a high value re-edit is they just ignore. What you're going to do if they ignore it, and this is what most editors are scared of, all you do is you follow up and you post it. What I recommend is you follow up about 3 to 5 times. Typically you can go up to 8 without them getting pissed off. And if they don't respond after that long, you just post it without permission. The reason being, first of all, you will get other clients by doing this. But second of all, it actually, by tagging them, you actually get them to be more likely to respond to the messages that you previously sent. So that's what the high value re-edits look like in terms of where do you find the footage, how do you know what to reach out on. I'm not going to go too in depth in that now, but in general, like you find creators that you want to edit content like theirs, then you re-edit for them. Now let's talk about the closing process. So by this point, we've got people that we can reach out to. We reached out to them using one of our proven methods. Now, how do you actually get them to say yes? Because here's the thing. If someone responds to you but doesn't actually pay you, that's not a client. That's just you feeling like you have a client. And I see so many editors all the time where they say like, oh, I've got a client. Like, I've got him. And then I ask him, oh, like, how much has he paid? Oh, he hasn't paid yet. He said he's going to send videos in 2 weeks. It's like, dude, like, you haven't closed until payment's been sent. So let me walk you through the 2 types of ways that you can actually close people. The first one is DM closing. This is where you literally just close them over text. A lot of people think you have to get onto calls, which is the second one. A lot of people think you have to get on calls in order to actually close someone. Not true at all. Genuinely, there's been, I think, 3 people in my entire career that I've closed over over calls. The other, like, 200 to 300 that I've closed, not 200 to 300, that's a lie. It's like 150 to 200. The other, like, 150 to 200 clients that I've closed over the last 5 years, it has been over DMs. Like, all you do is you take them through a simple sales process, which looks like a discovery, which is basically finding out their problems. It's then a pitch, which is saying like, hey, based on discovery, I think that I can do this for you. Here's what that would look like, XYZ. And then you have the close, which is essentially overcoming any objections. Oh, I think your price is too high. Here's how you overcome that objection. Oh, you think that I can't do that type of video? Here's how you overcome it. Oh, have you done this type of niche before? And let's say you haven't done it. Here's how you overcome that objection. So the close is basically reinforcing the pitch and overcoming any problems that they have. There's been so many times where someone has come to me. We've had that conversation. I say a price, let's say 1.5K per video. And they say, I can't afford it. And then through the closing process, we actually overcome that objection and they end up paying. I had another guy, he said his budget was $350. I quoted $700. We ended up going with $650, sorry. So, yeah, you can close people. A lot of people hear, oh, I'm not looking for someone right now, or that's too much, sorry. And they just don't try to close it. They just say, okay, no worries, man. Dude, you can close a lot more than you think. I've got a video on my channel, you can find it. It's something called, I think, how I close $1,000 plus videos in DMs. You can find it on the channel. But you can close on DMs, and you can also close on calls. So call closing is where you actually bring someone onto a call, and you actually, in like a Google Meets or a Zoom, you've got him and you on a call. I recommend having camera on, and you're basically taking him through the exact same sales process that you would on DMs, but you're doing it on video. So you take him through discovery. You say like, hey, like, what's the problem? Why are you looking to hire? Like, you ask this line of questioning that gets them in the position that they feel like they need an editor. Then you pitch them saying like, hey, based on XYZ, I think I can do it. Is it cool we talk about that? There, you get them to say yes. Then you pitch your service, you give the price, and you wait for an answer. If they say yes, awesome, collect payment. If they say no, we go into the close, which is just objection handling. It's the exact same thing as DMs, it's just over video. And the reason I say over video, by the way, I understand that you might feel uncomfortable to have your video on. You gotta get used to it. Like, I used to be insecure. As a kid, I was a really quiet kid. I hated being on camera. I hated just speaking to people. I had to grow the fuck up because I realized that I will make a lot more money by learning how to be on camera. Because being on camera, being on interviews, taking these sales calls for clients, it's a skill like any other skill. Because let's say that you're scared that, oh, if I get on call, I won't be able to close the client. I would rather you completely mess up this client and this close and this interview, and then learn from that mistake. And then when it actually matters with a bigger client who wants to be on call, you actually do that properly because you learned from previous ones. I'd rather you do that than the first time you jump on a call is with a huge client and now you mess it up. So in terms of calls, I recommend just take as many as you can. There's been a ton of calls that I just truthfully absolutely bombed. For example, like there's one creator, I still remember it. It's Michelle Carve. I have no idea how many subscribers she has now, but I got into an interview/sales call with them. Fucking bombed it, dude. This was before I was working with like the Sidemen or any other big creators. She was going to be like, I think my first like multi subscriber client, but I just fucking bombed it. The thing is, I did it with them. I had a call with Beta Squad, which went pretty well. I never ended up working on the full videos, but it wasn't because they didn't want to work together. I just had other client work. And it was with the Sidemen that we got into a call and I closed them on the spot. I'm not going to say how much for, but very healthy amount. And imagine I didn't have all these calls that I messed up with. There was another guy whose name was Glider Guy. I did end up closing this, but it was a hectic close. It was like I messed up the call completely, and then we ended up continuing to chat over DMs, and it ended up working there. So there's all these times where I've messed up, but when it mattered and when it mattered and when it matters, I can now do it. So take on calls whenever you can, because you're going to wish that you had the practice when a big client actually wants you to do it. We'll jump into the other topics in a second, but generally, that is the entire outreach method system that I use. The reason I call it the outreach matrix is because you can mix any of these together. So I've given you 9 lead generation methods here, 3 outreach messages here, 2 closing methods here. If you put all these together, there's literally 54 different combinations just here that you can use to actually close clients over DMs. Which combination works? All of them work. You just put enough volume through it. Now, let's talk about some other topics. How do you actually find the time to outreach? There was a guy, I was coaching him, he was on a Q&A call with me. And he basically had this problem where he said, hey, I'm so busy with work, or I just am busy with life, I can't find the time to outreach. I tell people outreach because it will make them a lot more money. But he couldn't find the time. So I asked him a simple question. Do you have your phone nearby? He said yes. I said, bring it up. And then I asked him to bring up his screen time. And he knew exactly where I was going. I didn't even have to go through the full exercise with him where I tell him to check his screen time and then tell me how much he has and then realize that should be going towards outreach. He realized as soon as I told him to look at his screen time that, hey, I have the time, it's just about priorities. So it's not that you don't have the time to outreach, because I promise you, if you're watching this, your screen time's probably more than 20 to 30 minutes a day. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes a day to outreach. Just do your outreach. In fact, when I was in the most busy period of my time, it was when I was studying and also doing editing and also going to the gym and learning how to be more social, and I was wanting to travel. Like, there were all these things that were stacked on top of each other. I still found the time to outreach, even when I was full on work. You would find the time. Oh, you're eating? Just send a few messages. Even times where I was, let's say, in a car ride, in an Uber, going somewhere, you got a bit of time, just do some outreach. Sometimes I would be taking a piss, do some outreach. Like, you just find the time to outreach, because it's not like this big, scary thing. You just chop away at it little by little. Next, personalization en masse. In order to get as much replies as possible, typically we've seen people get as high as like a 15 to 30% reply rate on this initial message. Where are we? Here we are. You're going to want to personalize. The few times that I've seen someone absolutely bomb with our client acquisition systems, and this is inside the editing layer, like our coaching program, I've seen people go through it and they fucking bomb. Like, it went terrible. We do a DM audit where we basically tell them, like, hey, jump on call, show me your metrics, tell me what's going on. We look through their messages, and every time someone fucked it all up, it was when they sent like a generic copy and paste message, which we specifically say not to do. So just by solving that, we typically fix their reply rate, so it's all good. So the way you actually personalize it en masse, you look at the 3 methods that we talked about. So you have the omnipresent, not the omnipresent messaging. You've got like the omni-channel messaging where you reach out everywhere. You've got the looms, and then you have the re-edits. You'll realize they're in this order because they're in different levels of personalization. Omni-channel messaging might take you a couple minutes to find all the places, and then just change like the first name. So rather than saying like, hey, name, like, hey, I saw you looking for an editor. Hey, name, I saw you looking for an editor. Something super simple like that. And also the fact that you're going on all these different platforms and say, hey, I saw you were hiring on X platform. Being able to do that shows a personalization. Loom is obviously personalized because you have the person's channel. Re-edit's hyper-personalized because you've got a lot of personalization and it's a lot of effort. How do you know which one you should do? Well, depending on how desperately you want the client. That sounds like a bad thing to say, but if you're already full on work, you should be using some of the less effortful or less time-taking methods. If you need the work and you want it quickly, you go for the more heavy, time-taking methods. And lastly, when do you scale a volume? How do you know how much you should be sending? Truthfully, it just comes all down to the data. So we found with the editing layer systems, and I can only talk on the metrics of that because that's the outreach that we track, we found anywhere from like a 2.5 to a 5% overall close rate. That means if you message 100 people, you'll get about 2.5 to 5 clients. Well, 2 to 5 clients, right? For most editors, this is absolutely unheard of. For most people, they'll send like 300 messages and get like 4 replies and no clients out the other end. Or they'll have like one person promise them work and 0 actually hire them. But typically, you can get like a 2 to 5% close rate once you've actually optimized all of these 3 stages. Once you are in this sort of range of like 2 to 5%, that's when you just absolutely fucking crank the volume. Volume meaning how much messages you're actually sending. The reason being, now you know you have a proven client acquisition system in place. This is the point where you can find it easy as hell to raise your prices because you know even if you get a no, you've got more than enough clients to work with. This is the point where you can start thinking about outsourcing. The reason being, you actually have the work to outsource. This is the point where you can start thinking about scaling because you actually have the work that's paying you. Like no matter what you're trying to do in your career, whether you're trying to even maintain, let's say you're happy with how much you're making. If you even want to keep that consistent, you need to be able to get more clients. Why? Because churn is a natural thing. There's a set number of videos that people will want to work on before they go with someone else, or that they'll naturally just churn out. That's normal. Like you're not going to work with someone for 10 years, you know what I mean? So to counteract churn and keep your income consistent, churn is just how many people leave you. To keep your income consistent, you need new clients coming in. For example, let's say, in fact, this happened recently with an editor that I coach. When he first started reaching out to people, he sent 500 in the first month, like 500 outreach messages. He closed, I believe it was 9 clients out of that, which wasn't perfect, but he was using one of our more volume approaches. He closed 9 clients out of that. From that, he ended up like wanting to work with about 4 of them. That got him to his 8K a month goal. That was literally within 1 month, by the way. Now, for him to maintain that, I told him like, dude, you can't stop the inputs. You don't have to send 500 anymore, but let's reverse engineer what it would take in order for you to maintain this. We found out he, on average, can keep a client for about a month and a half, like where he's working on super consistent videos. So we told him like, dude, you need to keep getting clients about at a pace of 1 per month. So we reversed engineered the maths. We said, okay, for you to get 1 client a month, that means you need to get this many replies, meaning you need to get this many messages sent. So we reverse engineered it. We realized he was getting about a like 20 to 30% close rate, meaning, hey, you need to get at least like 3 to 5 people that you're actually giving your price to and getting to that point of the conversation. And because he was getting about a 10% reply rate, which wasn't the best, but he was using a more skilled approach, we need to reach out to about 30 to 50 people per month. So by you doing this, you will get 1 client. Because he did this, and I have his trackers, I can't be else getting it up, but for the last 3 months, as of recording this, he's literally just been sending 30 messages per month. In Feb, he got, I believe, 1 client. In March, he got 2 clients. April just finished. He ended up getting 2 clients as well. So his metrics actually ended up being a little bit better. But the reason he's able to maintain his income and grow is because we've reverse engineered like how much outreach do you need to do with your current metrics in order to keep your income stable. Once again, the outreach tracker that he's using is in the description. You can find that. It's vfxmalice.com/tracker, I believe, but it'll be in the description, so you can get that. By doing this, it just means that we can actually keep his income consistent. Now, how do you know, how did we go from him sending 500 and closing only like 9 clients to sending 30 and closing 1 or 2 clients? Because this is a lot more efficient. All we did is we found out which process in his outreach matrix was most effective. In the outreach tracker, you're going to be able to search, okay, what was the conversion rate on Twitter? What was the conversion rate on Discord? What was the conversion rate on Meta Ads Library? You can find the conversion rate on each of these systems, and whichever one is the highest, that's the one you use if you want to send less volume. Because it's like, hey, if you're going to send less messages, let's make sure that those have the highest probability to actually close. So we found out for him personally, the X algorithm and X search got him a crazy reply rate just compared to everyone else. Like he couldn't crack anything else. Like YT Jobs had like a pretty shit conversion rate. He would close like 1 or 2 clients before with YT Jobs, but it wasn't as good as X search and X algorithm for him personally. So when you lowered it to 30 messages per month, that's what he was fully focusing on. I've seen other people where they do it through other platforms, specifically the ones that we've talked about here, and they had a similar thing where for them to continue scaling while sending less outreach, it was with a different platform. For example, there was someone recently, we literally just got him to 14K a month. He did it through LinkedIn. So it's like all of these methods work. It's just about first you send volume through the outreach matrix. Once you've scaled and you've got the clients, in order to become more efficient and lean down, that's when we look at your metrics with each with each method, and whichever one's most efficient, that's the one we keep doing more volume in. So that is the entire outreach matrix. Adios.